The Holy Gospel according to St. Mark, the 5th chapter. Translation is mine. And Jesus went in a boat back to the other side, and he was met by a huge crowd and was by the sea. A leader of the synagogue, Jairus by name, sees him and falling down pleads with him urgently, saying, "My little daughter is at the point of death. Come, lay hands on her so that she might be restored and live." And Jesus went with him, and the whole crowd was following him, pressing him. Now there was a woman having had a flow of blood for 12 years, having suffered many things under the hands of many physicians. Indeed, having spent everything she had, she was no better off, but was getting worse. Hearing about Jesus, coming behind him in the crowd, she touched his cloak. Because she'd been saying to herself, if I just touch his cloak, I'll be restored. And the source of the bleeding dried up within her, and she knew in her body that she had been healed. Jesus knew within himself that power had gone out of him. And so turning in the crowd, he said, "Who touched my cloak?" The disciple said, "You see the crowd pressing you on all sides, and you ask who touched you?" But Jesus kept looking to see who had done it. And the woman, knowing what had happened to her, trembling and afraid, fell down and told him the whole truth. Jesus said to her, "Daughter, your courageous trust has saved you. Go at once and be free of your affliction." Now while he says this, some people come from the house of the leader of the synagogue, and they say to Jairus, "Your daughter, she's died. Why trouble this teacher any longer?" But Jesus, overhearing it, says to Jairus, "Don't be afraid. Trust courageously." And he wouldn't let anyone go with him except for Peter and James and John, the brother of James. And they come to the house of the leader of the synagogue, and he sees great weeping and wailing, a commotion. And entering into the house, he says, "Why all this commotion, this weeping and wailing? The child didn't die. She's sleeping." And they started to taunt him, but Jesus drove them out. And taking with him the father of the little girl and her mother and those who were with him, he went to the place where she lay. And grasping her hand, he said to her, "Talitha cum," which means, "Little girl, I say to you, rise." And she rose. She started walking around. I mean, she was 12 years old. And they were stunned with great astonishment. And Jesus ordered them strictly to tell no one about this and to give the girl something to eat. This is the story of our people.